My spouse had an affair with her ex-college student, so I contacted AP's wife, and we got revenge. There is nothing that love can't make you do. I'm a 37-year-old male married to Kate, a 35-year-old female, for 2 years. Kate is a professor at City College, and I'm into marketing. We met at a common friend's party and befriended each other. We got connected on social media, but nothing happened between us for a long time. She was dating someone at that time, and even I was in an on and off relationship some 4 years ago. It was on her birthday that I wished her on Facebook. It was well past midnight, and that chat went on for the whole night, and we ended up meeting the next day for coffee. She had no plans for her birthday, so I took her out for dinner and a long drive. It started from there, and fast forward to 2 years back, we got married. In fact, it was only last month that we celebrated our second anniversary. Our life was running smoothly until a few weeks ago when my friend told me he had seen Kate with a man who looked quite young, in his 20s. I asked him what the big deal about it was. He could be a friend. My friend hesitantly told me their body language didn't suggest he was a friend. They were sitting very, very close to each other, and the guy's hand was on Kate's waist, and his lips were almost feeling her cheeks. My friend said he stood there for a while to see if it was just a mere misunderstanding, but he actually saw them cuddling. I asked him if he had taken any pictures of them, and he said it happened so suddenly that it just didn't click for him to take pictures. Besides, it was a public place, and he was afraid that people would have frowned at him for clicking a couple in their romantic moment. Although I believed my friend, it was just too vague to confront Kate about this. I could not just label her as a cheater on the basis of what my friend had seen. On returning home, I saw Kate busy reading a book. I wanted to ask her if she had met her friend that day, but I couldn't figure out the best way to ask this without sounding suspicious. It would have been easier if we were a couple who shared every minute detail of the day with each other. It wasn't that we didn't share anything, but we didn't share everything, just the important ones. In order to get into the zone, I started small talk with Kate. I made up a story that I bumped into my school friend today at a client meeting. He was our client, and we ended up having lunch together. Her reaction was very generic. "Oh, that's nice. Must have been great catching up with your old friend." I was like, "Yeah." I further asked her about her day. She said it was just normal. Nothing special had happened, and she got back into reading her book. I sensed that something was off. If that guy was her friend or colleague, she would have told me about having lunch with him. He was indeed not her friend. From that day onward, my mind got alert, and I started noticing Kate very closely. I noticed her for a few days but found nothing suspicious in her behavior. However, I just couldn't let it go. So I made my next move, checking her phone. That night, when she was asleep, I logged into her phone. Her inbox and social media were clean, except for the general chats from her colleagues and students. Then I checked her phone log, but nothing seemed suspicious. I scrolled through the history to look up the call history of the day when my friend had seen her with a man. I found a phone call just during the time my friend had seen them together. The contact was saved as Rumi 16, which meant he was her student of the 2016 batch. Kate saves the contact of her students with their name and batch number for easy recognition. I was perplexed. It was still believable that she was sitting closely with a friend, but with her student? It sounds so weird and gross. I realized that I had scanned the chats of her colleagues and friends, but didn't see the chats of her students. Your wife sleeping with her student is the last thing one can imagine. I opened her WhatsApp again and looked for ours chat, and there it was. She had been sexting him for the last few months prior to that. The chat was from 2016 with messages of farewell and good wishes. It seemed that 2 months ago he texted her that he was back in the city. Apparently, he moved to Texas after his graduation. I didn't have the time to read all the messages one by one, so I exported the chat to my mail and deleted the history. I wanted to read everything she had been saying to her young lover. Rumi did her multiple times during his last few months of stay in college. When I was reading the text on her phone, I read only until the farewell wishes and didn't scroll up further, but I am glad. I exported all the chat, which helped me understand the full story. I'm sure Kate wouldn't have revealed all these details. You know the fun part? Kate was dating someone else during that period. This means that she has always been a cheater. Kate and Rumi had been NC since he moved out, just normal wishes on birthdays and Christmas. Some 3 months back, Rumi texted her that he had shifted back to the city with his wife. His rich girlfriend from Texas was now his wife. And now he is taking care of his father-in-law's business in the city. Rumi initiated the conversation with Kate by saying he missed her body and wanted to taste her again. Kate's initial response to his advances showed that she resisted, but eventually, she gave up and slept with him a few times. Scanning in the messages, it looked like it was 4 to 5 times. By the time I finished reading the chats, it was already dawn. I had work the next day, so I tried to get some sleep. By the time I woke up, she had already left for college. I also made my breakfast and went to the office. When I returned from the office, Kate wasn't at home. Usually, she comes back from college by 5 p.m. But it was 7 p.m. and she had still not arrived. She usually hung out with her friends and colleagues after college, and it never bothered me. This time, it was different. I wanted her to be home so that we could have the confrontation and get done with it. I had all the evidence, so there was no point in beating around the bush. The revelation was suffocating me, and I wanted it to be over as soon as possible. As time passed, I got restless. I called her and asked her to come home. She asked me if everything was fine because I had never done this before. Within 30 minutes, she was home. When she entered the house, I was sitting on the front porch. She understood that the matter was serious because I was neither with my phone nor my iPad, just sitting idle. She rushed toward me and asked me what was wrong. I told her, "Sorry, I disturbed your meeting with Rumi. That's his name, right?" She gave a cold look at me and asked what I meant. I said there was no need to play hide and seek anymore. She said I was accusing her baselessly. I showed her the chat exports and she froze. She stood silent for a moment and then accused me of breaching her privacy. Really? I sneaked into her phone and that was a privacy breach? And she sneaking into other men's pants is no crime? Wow. I asked her if her last breakup was also due to this Rumi guy. She snapped at me that it was not my business, but I kept repeating myself like a psychopath. She confessed that her last boyfriend had also broken up when he got to know that she was sleeping with her student. I laughed and asked how she could be so foolish to destroy her relationship for a man who had sorted out all his aspects of life and was leading it peacefully. She fought back, saying he was really addictive. What, is his blood filled with cocaine? I told her that she had to leave the house because we were living in my house. She looked unremorseful and said there was no reason to be overly dramatic. It was just physical, and no emotions were involved. She asked me to reconsider the decision as I was being impulsive. I said, "So be it," and asked her to leave. She stamped her foot and went inside, shouting that I would regret my decision and come back, running to her in 2 days, pleading with her to come back home. Haha. Really? She was freaking delusional. Pleading with her for reconciliation would be the last thing I'd do in my life. She packed her stuff while I sat on the front porch. While leaving, she didn't even look at me and went straight out. I told her that I would be sending the divorce papers soon, and that if she had the same level of self-respect as that day, she should sign it uncontested. She didn't say anything and left. She was behaving as if it were my crime, and I made the mistake of checking her phone and uncovering her cheating. While leaving the house, she gave me an evil vibe that she was not going to let it go easily. If she had been civil, I would have let it go. But the way she showed her tantrums, I badly wanted to destroy her ego. I searched for this Rumi on social media before he would block me. I scavenged his wife's profile and sent her a request. I asked for her email and sent it to her. She asked me, how did I discover the truth? I told her everything in detail. I told her to read the messages carefully and she would get all the clarity. After a couple of hours, she responded, asking if I had confronted this Kate. I said yes. She said that she would involve her father to deal with Rumi and went offline. I wanted to check the status with her, but she has been offline since the conversation. It's been 3 days since then. Hence, I'm scared for that woman. If she is safe, Rumi was using her for her father's money. I'm afraid he may have harmed her after she got to know the truth. I'm trying to reach out to her through other social media and emails, but no luck. Hopefully she is fine. Meanwhile, my lawyer is working on getting the divorce papers ready. I'll make an update when the situation escalates. Update 1. Thanks for the affirmation. I really thought I was making an impulsive decision, but I did it anyway. I felt so positive when everyone patted me on my post and sent me kudos saying I made a brave move. Thank you all. Okay, so I have some updates. Remember I said R's wife was not responding? She disappeared for a good week. When I finally got a response, I was not relieved, but suspicious if it was she or if it was Rumi from her phone. So I asked her for a call. She saw my messages, where I was showing my concern about her safety. She called me immediately, and then I was relieved. She told me that as soon as she completed reading the messages, she took the first flight to Texas. She was alone in this city, and didn't want to deal with Rumi alone, who sounded so shady in the chat. So, she involved her parents. She had switched off her phone for a week at her lawyer's suggestion because Rumi was trying all means to contact her. Her parents were afraid that if he got to talk to her, he might be able to convince her by giving some shady reasons. She said she was not dumb to fall for his words, yet she followed her lawyer's advice. Do you know what Rise Phil did to him? It's classic. They didn't confront him regarding the cheating. Instead, they said that they had identified some accounting issues in the office handled by Rumi. Until it was over, he should stay away from his wife. Rumi was not able to place his fingers on the sudden suspicions of his in-laws. His Phil thought that a cheating case in court would not have done a lot of damage to Rumi because the court doesn't punish you for infidelity. At most, he would have been asked to pay alimony for the mental stress of his wife. But his Phil didn't need that. He wanted to destroy him. A few days after this, do you know who reached out to me? Rumi. His exact words were, "Dude, your wife is f***ing delusional. She is making up stories and insisting I marry her. Doesn't she know I'm 10 years younger than her? Yes, we had sex, but I can't marry everyone I sleep with." What happened was when Rumi told Kate about his issues with his in-laws, Kate said that it was I who had leaked the chats to his wife, but Rumi said that no one was talking about the affair. They were concerned about the accounting issue in the company. Rumi thought Kate was using the opportunity to convince him to marry her. I was actually laughing at his messages. He is no less delusional than Kate. He genuinely thought that his in-laws were upset because of the accounting issues and had no clue about his cheating. At least a month after the D-Day, the divorce paper was ready. I called Kate's mother and asked if she was staying with her. She was shocked at my question because Kate was not with her. She asked me if everything was fine. I told her the truth. She didn't believe me and wanted me to share the evidence. By then, I was so exhausted proving this to everyone that I didn't care to make her believe me. I told her that I was sending the divorce papers to her house and told her to get it signed by her daughter. An hour after that, my phone was bombarded with Kate's abusive voicemails, accusing me of destroying her and ours life. I didn't block her because I wanted to see her true colors and how low she could stoop to abuse me. My relationship with her might be shorter compared to some of you who shared their cheating wife-husband stories, yet I was with this woman for 4 long years. I married her, and it was indeed painful to separate from her. When she was done abusing me, I blocked her. It's been a week since then, but she has yet to sign the divorce papers. I checked with the mechanic. I cannot imagine or afford a luxurious trip after every misery in my life, and neither do I intend on leeching on her father's money, especially after knowing how they have dealt with Rumi's father-in-law. Rumi's father-in-law accused Rumi of embezzling the company's funds, and he somehow proved this in court. I don't know if Rumi actually siphoned money from his Phil company, or if he was just framed. Ours wife didn't know the details of how her father was able to prove this. I told you she is a rich princess who doesn't know the price of the vegetables. Lol. They used his fraud as a basis for separating his daughter from Rumi. His wife did whatever she was told by her father. Rumi was fined a hefty amount and had 3 months to pay the amount. In case he defaults, he would be charged criminally. The amount is freaking huge, and she assured that Rumi would not be able to pay that huge amount of money and he might ultimately land up in jail. Besides, it has cost him huge reputational damage, which mere cheating wouldn't have done. Our Phil is indeed a bad son of a man, as far as my case is concerned. Kate played a lot of tricks before signing the papers. She wanted my house as the alimony. She used to be at the forefront of talking about feminism. And when she actually had to show her morals, she stooped so low to rip me off my house. I don't know if this was feminism. According to her, she was the one who cheated on me, and yet she needed to be compensated. What kind of logic is this? But thank God, I had a competent lawyer who fought through this and secured my house from her claws. And thank God, I had the evidence of her infidelity. I have read so many stories of victims who had been cheated upon, plus ripped off from their property and houses. I wanted a clean divorce, but she made it complicated. So, I also played along. She told her colleagues that she was divorcing me because I was cheating on her, and hence she wanted the house as alimony as compensation. Plus, she got all the sympathy from her friends and colleagues. So I did what I should have done much earlier. I sent her explicit chats with Rumi to a few of her colleagues. And you know how people are hungry for gossip at the workplace. The chats got circulated amongst all the faculty, and Kate became the gossip subject in the teacher's room. Kate called me from a landline and abused me badly for leaking her chats. This time I gave it back to her. I told her to sign the papers, or else I would leak them to her friends as well as to her college students. And it might become the next viral thing in the city. My voice was cold and stern, and she knew I could do it. I never thought of playing this dirty, but she forced me to. In fact, I didn't share it with her mother when she didn't believe my words, because I never intended to humiliate her in this way. She agreed to my divorce terms and signed the papers in the next court hearing. Finally, I'm divorced and free from her trap. My friends are insisting that I start dating again, but I want to wait for some time before jumping on this bandwagon. Also, I haven't been in touch with R's wife since her last update on R's court case. Neither am I interested to know what happens to him. I was in touch with her only until my divorce. But now as it is settled, I don't want any traces of my past in my present life. I just want to move on. A little inspired by the Princess Ree's ex-wife, I'm also planning for a solo trip. No, not to Vegas, but to Montana. Hopefully, I come back strong and fresh after my mountain trek in Montana. Thanks for hearing me out and cheering for me. Now on to the next story. Story 2. I slept with my wife's affair partner's wife, and I am divorcing her soon. We got married almost 3 years ago. She started having an affair with her coworker 1 year ago. I got to know that because I saw his car outside my house one day. I had my suspicions. I hired a PI and gathered evidence that she was having an affair with him. I was angry. Then I got a call from the coworker's wife saying that she came to know about the affair. She only had texts they used to send, but I have all the receipts of their hangouts together. We decided to confront them. We used to meet up a lot. She told me she had suspected his affair since her pregnancy. They have 3 children together. One day, we had an idea that we should sleep with each other as revenge. We did, and not going to lie, it felt good. We have been meeting and having sex for a while, one. She hardly ever gives me oral, but expects me to give her one. At least AP's wife was more enthusiastic about it, and it was the best oral I ever had. AP's wife wants to tell her husband. I guess we are both tired of carrying out the revenge affair. We both got carried away. We were both so driven by revenge that we got addicted to it. I will confront my wife soon. I already have the divorce papers ready. Since we do not have a joint account or marital assets, it will be easy for us. AP's wife might have some problems because they have kids, but she has the power to take him to the cleaners. I know I sound like an awful person, but I am already checked out of my marriage. 1. I slept with my wife's affair partner's wife, and I am divorcing her soon. I totally forgot about this Reddit account. Well, I do have an update. Like most of your requests, Ed, I served her divorce papers on the 16th of July. I delayed because I needed to get something in order, so I served her divorce papers at her work. When she came home, I packed up her things and told her to go and stay with her dad. She did what typical cheaters do. She begged, apologized, and blamed me for her affair. I was prepared for all of that. She was stubborn and told me she would not leave and would fix our marriage. I reminded her that the house belongs to my parents. Their name is on the house. If she doesn't leave, I can call them and have her evicted. I had already called her sister. I thought she would take her away from me, but her sister blamed me instead, saying that I am not a good husband if I'm giving up my marriage that easily. This is where I became a bit petty and told her this is very hypocritical coming from a woman who left her husband for his cousin. I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. She slapped me. I warned her that this is their last chance, or else I will call the police on her for assaulting me. After she left, the messages didn't stop. I didn't block her because I wanted to screenshot most of it. She said she was sorry, begging me to take her back. She mocked me and said she never enjoyed any lovemaking that we did, and that she and her affair partner had sex on every piece of furniture in our house. I don't know how much of it is true, but I will be replacing my furniture regardless. I wanted to tell her that the other betrayed spouse and I defiled her car by having sex on it, but I didn't. The last time I spoke to her, she apologized to me. This time the apology seemed sincere. She told me she got carried away lately. She has been thinking about having kids. As I have mentioned in my previous post, I cannot have children. She knew that and told me she wants to be child-free. But now that she is in her mid-30s, she has been really wanting to become a mom. The fact that I cannot give it to her angered her and led her to cheat. Just to cope with it, she told me she was wrong and that I was the best partner and husband anyone could ever have, but she just wanted more. I asked her why she didn't just say so we could have adopted or gone to a sperm bank. I asked her if she was pregnant. I don't know, but it looked like she was. She murmured, "Yes, I knew this wasn't my baby." All hope for reconciliation is out the window. Now imagine if I never discovered the affair. She would have passed this pregnancy off as a miracle baby. I just congratulated her and said, I hope she has a wonderful baby. I want this divorce ASAP. As for AP's wife, she also served her husband and is taking him to the cleaners. She is not backing down. I only talked to her a couple of times. She ranted a lot about how she wasted her best years in youth on a disgusting man. She complained that she left her modeling career just to be with him and whatnot. I think she still looks hot. We didn't have any contact for a while. There was one time she drunkenly texted me with a sleazy picture asking me to come over, but I refused. She did apologize after that. We are not planning on dating anytime soon, not unless all the divorce proceedings are over. But I do miss her a lot. Also, I got a cat. My STBX wife hated cats. Now, my house will be a cat kingdom. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.